Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to NRRL Monday Sprint and Feature Race Division. We are here tonight at the legendary Silverstone circuit for the British Grand Prix. My name is JP, I'm your commentator. Alongside me in the commentary booth tonight is my brother Lewis. Good evening, Lewis. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm all the better knowing we are about to see some fantastic racing with some fantastic drivers on a fantastic circuit. So let's get on with it.
One shot qualifying then for this sprint and feature race. We have a one shot qualifying followed by a 9 lap sprint, I believe it is. Then followed by another one shot qualifying, followed by the main Grand Prix. And as we come towards the end of Sector 1, it is the Works Mercedes of Rulder CZE who is leading the charge as we now go through Luffield. Very long right-hander here. Keep it close to the curb. Run it out wide. And now you barrel towards Cop. Such an iconic corner. Normally quite easily flat in these modern-day Formula 1 cars. Easily flat there for Rulder in the Works Mercedes. Mercedes with such success around this circuit with the likes of Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg, Valtteri Bottas. And through Maggots and Beckett's we go. And now down the Wellington straight. And Rulder is absolutely flying. As we now come towards the end part of the lap here. Taking it very nicely, keeping it well within the track limits is the Mercedes. Towards the final little chicane, very easy to lock up. Going into these final few corners, but he's negotiated it well. And it will be Rulder on pole for the sprint race. And what a lap it was. A 26.2. He's a few milliseconds off of being a second clear of the rest of the field.
That's a very, very impressive lap. Normally we have very short gaps in each division, so that is a ginormous gap, nearly a whole second. You don't see that very often. You very rarely see even half of that, but basically, as you say, a second. The rest of the field very, very close, so you would hope that, although we have to remain impartial, that this isn't what we're going to see in the sprint race. We would like to see at least some level of pressure put on him, but you have to give credit there because that is a phenomenal lap.
Exactly that, and I do believe that is the largest gap in qualifying in NRRL history. 3 milliseconds off of a second clear of second place. And F1 Mikey Boy, great driver, incredibly quick in qualifying. So to beat him by a second is a massive feat. And Rulder in the Works Mercedes, he is definitely going to be one to keep our eyes on.
Absolutely. So now, let's say I'm going to ask you a question here, Jack, which is, get that on a t-shirt when we make merchandise, because I seem to say that every hour. You are in Mikey's position. You have been known for making some incredible moves. This is a circuit where you can make some great moves. But you're lining up seconds. That's a pretty good place to be on the grid. But then you see the pole sitter is practically a whole second in front of you. Where do you go from there? Because if I'm in that position, I'm thinking, what on earth am I driving against here?
Well, first of all, I'm considering, is he on PC? Because there is something I'm thinking there that I might be getting screwed against. But no, I think my strategy would be I need to get ahead of him as quickly as possible and try and hold him up. Because admittedly, if I'm in Mikey's position, I'm thinking there's no way I beat this guy. So I've got to get as close as possible. But here we are then. 5 red lights on the grid ahead of the British sprint. And it is lights out. And away we go. And Mikey did not get a good start at all. Rulder did. But the two Aston Martins both going down the inside and outside of Mikey. And Mikey has lost out massively there. Both Aston Martins with an incredible start. And they have both gone through. Mikey's down to 4th. And could yet even be 5th as I Have No Grip now challenges him. We've got the McLaren and the Haas wheel-to-wheel. That's Zazoom and Dan Lovett in behind that. Alfie is looking to get involved. We've also got I Have No Grip involved in this battle as they go 3 wide. Now into
Ooh.
Brooklands and Luffield. Dan Lovett manages to sneak his way through on the inside there. But for Rulder out in front, already 9/10 clear of the Aston Martin of Finjo. A dream getaway from the Aston Martin as we barrel into Cops at nearly 200 kilometers an hour there. Yeah, boy, and Kevin going wheel to wheel, and a great move through Cops from the Sauber. He's up to 14th place.
Zarzoom was going well, but managed to lose 2 positions after running wide. Not an ideal start for him. But as you say, 3 wide. You thought that something could potentially go wrong there, but managed to get through all relatively well. But a phenomenal start from Rulder, just what he would have wanted to see. But Mikey, I was on board with him at the start, just seemingly could not get the reaction or the launch he wanted. He's going to have to think of a different way through.
I think quite interesting if you look at the tyres, Lewis. H-Town Realtor on the soft compound tyres. Mikey, it would explain his poor getaway on the hard compound tyres. The front 2 on mediums. Then you have 5th down to 9th on mediums. A few more hard runners in the mid to low end of the field. And Zazoom is still struggling as he has a snap. And now Meldrum is onto him as we go down the straight.
Mikey and
H-Town Realtor, sorry, Lewis, battling away. Mikey has actually managed to get his way past the soft runner. So the soft's evidently not working well as Dan Lovett is now on the back of the Aston Martin. The soft's a very, very bold choice, I must say, from H-Town. And that gamble not looking like it's going to pay off.
I think the hards as well from Mikey was a very bold choice. That probably explains why he didn't have the start that those around him did. I feel like mediums was absolutely the right choice, but everyone is entitled to their own choice. Here comes Dan Lovett on H-Town, can't find a way through. This is mediums versus softs. Cannot find a way past just yet. We have a yellow flag. That is a Red Bull round. They both managed to keep going, so no safety car. But just battles everywhere you look.
Exactly that, and that is the great thing about sprint races, is constant action up and down the field. And I must say, I'm quite surprised that H-Town is really starting to struggle. As look, he goes very wide there, and now as we move on to the Wellington Straight, there's contact between him and Dan Lovett. Dan trying to muscle his way through, nothing doing for the Haas driver as we now go into Brooklands. Very hard to get an overtake done here. Dan Lovett will look for something, maybe towards the outside of Luffield. Does take a bit of a wider line to try and get better traction as we now barrel towards Cops. And that is exactly the exit he has got. And Dan Lovett has moved himself up into 4th place, and he is ahead of the Aston, who now runs wide. And that is going to put Dan Lovett's teammate Darrell right in the fight as we now go through Maggots and Beckett's. Very, very close between the two Hasses and the Aston Martin. But I must say, I'm quite surprised because as much as the softs were very bold, you'd imagine that H-Town would be very quick towards the start. And I would have expected him to not only challenge his teammate, but maybe put a bit of pressure on Rulder. But H-Town, the soft's not working well at all. He is really struggling on the softs, and Darrell is all over the back of him in that fight as I Have No Grip. Then there's a bit of a gap to Meldrum on the hards. He's got Alfie accompanying him. Astro not far off that battle either. But out in front, Rulder leads by 2.2 seconds. He is flying away.
Absolutely. I think Darrell, this is why I think he must have made a mistake on the soft tyres, because Silverstone are track with a lot of high-speed corners, very punishing on the tyres, so they just wear out extremely quickly. Yeah, they give you an advantage for the first lap or so, but now he is a sitting duck down this main straight. Darrell has the pace, he has the RS, and an easy move, really. But it very much seems like there is a 3, potentially even 4-way battle for this 5th place.
Exactly that, and Mikey boy is now starting to gain on Finjo, so the hard tyres may be starting to show some life. A very poor start for Mikey, got swamped into turn 1, had one Aston Martin down the inside, one Aston Martin round the outside, and lost both positions. But look at the exit he gets out of Maggots and Beckett's, and he is really starting to come at Finn Joe here. As we now enter the final sector, the outside is where he chooses to go. Is there enough grip on those hards to swoop around the outside? There is, and that's a lovely move from Mikey Boy, but the battle isn't over yet as Finn now throws it back down the inside and regains the position. Incredible racing between second and third place, and Mikey will have to reevaluate his options and go for this one again.
Absolutely fantastic racing. This is the racetrack you want to race on to have battles. And these two, we know how good they are. This is just a tasty encounter. And I get the feeling we're going to see them go for it again down this straight. DRS wide open for Mikey. We've seen how he can get overtakes done here. He's getting a good run here. He goes to the outside. Can he make the move stick? He can't. Very good defending from Joe there. He looks to the outside again. Can't get the move done. He's still... Oh, he goes wide! And there he gets the move done. Are they going to be wheel to wheel into Cops? They will not. Finn backs out of it. Probably the smarter thing to do. And now you just got to follow through that section where it is difficult through Maggots and Beckett's to keep the DRS down the straight. He's managed to do it fairly well. He has lost a little bit of time, as you would expect. Is he going to be able to close back up? He is gaining. Probably not enough to make a move. He stays just behind for now, but I doubt this will be over by any stretch of the imagination.
Great battle there, and I Have No Grip is now going at H-Town Realtor and has managed to get his way through. And while they've been fighting, the pack of Meldrum and Alfie have also gained on this fight as we now are on lap 6 of this sprint race. Rulder has a 3.8 second gap, but could we see that start to come down now as Mikey on the hards is beginning to pull away from Finn Joe? It is oh so close between these drivers. Dan Lovett in 4th. There's a 4-second gap from him to Finn Joe. Darrell is behind his teammate, a Haas 4.5. Great sprint race so far for the American outfit. I Have No Grip in a bit of a land of his own here. H-Town Realtor has been completely dropped and has Meldrum coming at him. Meldrum not able to make a move into Brooklands. Nothing doing for him. And now Alfie is right on the back of the Alpine as this 2-car fight becomes a 3-car fight. And Alfie taking a bit of a weird line there through the exit of Luffield. Is he going to be able to try and challenge down into Cops? He's draining the overtake button. He is going to look to the inside of Cops. Nothing doing, but he's scared Meldrum off the track. So the mental tactics working from Alfie. Meldrum manages to keep the position, but that will definitely have been a warning for the Alpine. The Mercedes struggling in the dirty air, though, running very, very wide. Meldrum does pick up another time penalty, but Alfie not going to be close enough. Everyone on very, very low battery here as we see Josh, who is battling away with Rendog and Boy here. They are all going at it, and Josh actually onto the grass as he looks to the inside. Does make the move. Rendog right round the outside makes the move stick. Incredible stuff from the Red Bull and the Alpine. Great overtakes, and there we see the Sauber of Boy diving across the grass and into the pit lane. Damage on the front wing of that Sauber. He is in for a new one, and on lap 7 of 9 here, that will be his sprint race over. But interestingly, the gap between Mikey and Rulder is not coming down. And with only about 2.5 laps to go, it doesn't look like that will change. Meldrum has managed to get his way past H-Town Realtor. The Aston Martin may be looking for a little bit of a gap on the inside. Going into Brooklands, nothing doing for him. He will have to stay 8th. And now he's got Alfie right behind him, who is now going to come at it actually. H-Town Realtor with a very wide line on the exit of Luffield. Nothing doing for him with that grip. And he's now down to 9th, tumbling out of the points after being 3rd at one point in this race. And a horrible sprint for the Aston Martin while his teammate runs 3rd and is still right on the back of Mikey Boy. He finds himself down in 9th place and he will not be happy with that. What have you seen, Lewis?
Meldrum runs wide in the battle with Alfie under no pressure whatsoever. Alfie manages to get through. Just a completely unpressured mistake from Meldrum there. He will be kicking himself with that. Manages to keep it on the track though as we head towards the final laps of this race.
While you were speaking
Meldrum
about that, Lewis, sorry to interrupt, both McLarens managed to get past H-Town Realtor. H-Town is going to come back at Kevin Baker, but he is tumbling like a boulder into the ocean here. The soft tyres must be absolutely dead now, and Kevin Baker looks to reignite his fight, but he's ran very, very wide there, and he nearly takes the Williams out of Astro with him. Astro gets a penalty, as does Kevin, but Kevin very, very quick in a straight line, I must say, and he manages to get his way back through on the Williams. But oh so close between all these drivers. Meldrum is trying to come at Alfie again as Alfie takes a wide line through the exit of Luffield, and Meldrum is gaining towards Cops. He picks up another penalty. Not enough straight line speed for the Alpine driver, and his hard tyres are starting to struggle a little bit. He is going to have the DRS if he can keep close through Maggots and Beckett's, which is exactly what he is doing. Very close to follow in the dirty areas you mentioned earlier, Lewis, and he's gone very, very wide as Meldrum, and that will not aid him in his pursuit of the works Mercedes-Benz. Alfie manages to stay ahead. Zazoom gaining on that fight. All the while, H-Town has managed to put off the threat of Kevin Baker after he was under pressure from Astro. But final lap of this sprint race, and Rulder has ruled it.
Absolutely. It's been very, very easy for him. I must say, with Meldrum, it's very easy to make a mistake through that section of the track, but they have been two extremely punishing ones for him that you do have to feel bad, as we've all been there. We've made that mistake before, but you can't let it beat you down, because if you make it again, Zazoom will be straight through. You've got to try and make your move on and up into P7 if you can, but it doesn't look like it's working.
Lewis, I think I've figured out why Rulder's so quick. He's done a Nico Rosberg. He's got an all-black helmet. There's no paint on it. So that obviously gives him the second in qualifying. That gives him the 4.2 second in the sprint race.
I think we have to have that banned.
I'm pretty sure I figured out why he's so quick. But whatever it is that is making the Mercedes so quick today, he has driven it absolutely perfectly. And Rulder now coming through the final couple of corners, the final sequence here. Pick your braking point. He knows he is well clear. And Rulder has ruled the sprint race and will take home the medal for first place. Rulder wins the British sprint. It is Mikey Boy who will finish in second. Finjo will finish in third. Dan Lovett, great sprint race from the Haas driver. He will finish in fourth. His teammate Darrell fends off I Have No Grip and brings it home fifth. I Have No Grip in sixth place. Great drive from the V-Carb driver. Alfie comes home in seventh with Zazoom in eighth. Meldrum ninth. And there's a crash there as we go across the line. I believe that was the Aston Martin of H-Town Realtor into the wall, and he is now stricken, but will keep his eighth place and manage to recover for a single World Championship point. Big Bruiser and Yeah Boy, difficult races for them. Same with Rendog and Josh. And they bring home the back of the pack. But if we can expect another 20, 30 odd laps of that in the Grand Prix, I am more than here for it. Incredible racing from every single one of these drivers, and what a sprint it was.
Absolutely, some incredible stuff. I must say, that is a bizarre way to cross the line if you're the Aston Martin. I can't say I've ever crossed the line sideways in my time, but I guess there's always time to start something new. So
yeah, I mean, do we get
at least
points
he managed to get his point.
Do we get points in NRRL for skill? Because, I mean, he's leading the championship if that's the case.
I think if we do, I think not only is he leading the championship, I think he's already been crowned champion, because to cross the line sideways and still come home with a point, I think that's so far our greatest moment.
Completely agreed. Rulder wins the sprint race with the fastest lap 2. Mikey Boy in second, Finjo third, Dan Lovett and Daryl in fourth and fifth. I Have No Grip sixth, Alfie seventh, and H-Town Realtor in eighth. And that rounds off your points for the sprint race. We will now take a quick look at the championships. Leading the constructors is Aston Martin by 5 points to Racing Bulls. 21 points then to Alpine. You've then got 24 points to Sauber, 29 to Haas, 37 to McLaren, and 56 to Mercedes. Williams and Red Bull level on points going into this round of the season, round 4 of 8 this is. And if we look towards the Drivers' Championship, I Have No Grip leading the championship from Josh McKellar, who is now F1 Mikey Boy, and Dan Lovett. So close between all of these drivers. I Have No Grip currently leading by 3 points. Very, very close between I Have No Grip and Josh, and I believe I Have No Grip will have strengthened his championship lead by a few points after that sprint race. But we now head back to the action, a one-shot qualifying for the main Grand Prix. And Lewis, I'll let you take us through the laps here for this one-shot qualifying.
Okay, so if you're any of these drivers, you want to really make sure you put yourself in a strong position to be at the top, but you've got to make sure at a track like this that you don't make too many mistakes or run wide, because with the curbs at this circuit, as at Cops or plenty of other places, it's very easy to make a mistake and invalidate your lap, and then all your hard work is ruined. So what you want to do is just make sure that everything is smooth and looks like you're running on a train track. So the top two look like they've gone through it well so far, but you've got to make sure this a very, very critical part of the circuit. Don't invalidate your lap, don't run wide, or you are starting P16 and you have a lot of work to do. Rulder manages to get through it well, so does Mikey Boy. Maggots and Beckett's a very, very difficult part of the track. You've just got to make sure, again, you don't get any understeer or oversteer. Again, the top manage to get through well, and then it is just blitz down this straight. Try and pick the opportune braking point. Again, very easy to run wide here. Just clip the curb on the inside, clip it on the outside, run over it a little bit more. And then coming into the final couple of corners, you want to avoid that sausage curb there. Rulder manages to do it, and then around the corner, cross the line, 26.2, an absolutely incredible lap. Unrulder, 3 out of 3 so far.
Exactly that, but this time, interestingly enough, he wasn't as clear as he was for the sprint. Very, very close between, I believe, the top 4, top 5. As look there, we have a 4/10 gap to pole position. Then it's Mikey Boy. Great lap from I Have No Grip in 3rd place. Brilliant stuff from the current championship leader. H-Town in 4th with Daryl in 5th. Finjo 6th. Dan Lovett 7th. Alfie in 8th. Rendog 9th. Kevin Baker 10th. Astro 11th. Big Bruiser 12th. Josh, Meldrum, Yearboy and Zazoom all invalidating their laps. But for Rulder, 3 out of 3 in all the sessions tonight. He will want nothing more than to make it 4 out of 4.
Absolutely, he has looked on fire so far, and he will be looking to continue that. And you'd have to say he looks very much in good stead to do so.
Exactly that. Now, I would like to drop a little bit of a plug. If you are a viewer of us on Twitch and you are enjoying the racing action at home, Twitch is currently running a promotional event called Subtember, which means that you can subscribe for up to 30% off. So if you are enjoying the racing action, if you're enjoying the 7 days a week of racing action that we are bringing you here at NRRL, this is the only place that you can watch live. Drop us a subscription down below. 25% off for the entire month of September. Your support is incredibly valued and appreciated. As you can see by the graphic here, 7 days a week. You can't see Tuesday on there yet, but Tuesdays will be starting from tomorrow. Sunday we had yesterday. That will now be turning into the Sunday Super League. So as well as Wednesday being the Super League, there will also be a Sunday Super League. So even more racing action as we now head to the 5 red lights at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. And it is lights out, and away we go, and Rulder does get a good start once again. Mikey Boy this time manages to hold on to second. I Have No Grip with a good start as well. H-Town and Finjo in fourth and fifth, and we've got a yellow flag at the back there, and that's Alfie, who I believe has gone for a trip across the gravel. A lot of drivers running wide there. That would be Zazoom, I believe, going off the track, or maybe it was Kevin Baker. All fighting in the lower half of the pack here as everybody scraps for those early positions. They're nearly four wide here going into left field, and Mikey is making his way into the lead of the Grand Prix. On the soft compound tyres is the Sauber driver, and he is through on Rulder into the lead. So Rulder, who grand slammed the sprint race, will need to overtake him by the end of this lap if he wants to try and get himself a grand slam in the Grand Prix. But on those soft compound tyres, the Sauber of Mikey absolutely flying here. The dream start for Mikey. He got a good getaway, managed to hold his second place. Incredible stuff. Down into Brooklands, he takes the lead.
Absolutely fantastic overtake from Mikey. As we always say, we know that he has good overtakes in him, but the way he set that up was just fantastic. And I want to give a special mention to two drivers who we haven't spoke about as much due to the battles up the top. But on the first lap, both Josh and Zazoom gaining 7 places each. Fantastic stuff from both of them. Josh up in his 6th. We have a yellow flag. We have 2 drivers in the pits. A chaotic first lap here. Driver out. Is there going to be a safety car? There will not be. Everything goes smoothly. But your boy and Astro in the pits. Can't say I saw what happened there. Jack, if you did, please do let us know.
I can't say I saw what happened, but Big Bruiser retiring on track after a spin, and his race ends before lap 1 ends. Rulder, crucially with the DRS, not able to get close enough to Mikey. Like you mentioned, Lewis, Josh with a brilliant start, up 7 places. Same with Zazoom, and Zazoom isn't done yet. He's coming at Rendog and is now trying to make that 8 places gain. Josh running very wide out of Cops there in his pursuit of Finjo, and will now look to the tyre allocation. Mikey on the softs. Rulder, I Have No Grip, and H-Town on the mediums. You've then got Finn on the hards, Josh on the mediums, Daryl and Rendog on the hards. Dan Lovett has fallen back a bit off the start. He's on the mediums and is looking to chase down Zazoom, as Zazoom looks to try and come at the Red Bull of Rendog. But Mikey doing an incredible job at the start, using the softer tyres. We know by that AWS graphic, it should be a 2-stop race, no matter what way you look at it. And well, Mikey boy, absolutely flying at the beginning of this one. Rulder, very, very close to the back of him though, and is really putting pressure on the Sauber driver. And as we now head towards this next straight, with the DRS enabled, is Rulder going to be able to have a look at him? He is very, very close. He's not using the ERS though. Mikey boy is, and he manages to stay ahead into Brooklands.
Fantastic stuff between the two. This looks like a very interesting battle for the next 23 laps. Now, the interesting thing for us to all see now, we've seen Rulder, his skill at just dominating races. How is he like now when he is the one that has to make the overtake to get the lead back? How long can Mikey keep him behind? I get the feeling with how close he is here, it might not be for too much longer. He will have DRS, plenty of charge. And here he comes then. Round 2 between the top two. Lap 1, it started. Lap 3 is where it picks up again. Can't make a move here. Runs a little bit wide. Not the best way to take the corner. Stuck in dirty air, of course. Just got to try and stick with him. I Have No Grip coming up onto the back of this. So he will be liking the look of what he sees so far. No DRS down this main straight. I think we can all agree that's probably for the best. As they make it through 1 and 2 all fine. The first braking zone of the lap here. Sticks with him. Can he try and make a move around the outside? No, he thinks better of it. Probably the best thing to do is now DRS down the straight. Is he close enough? You can see Mikey trying to break the slipstream there. You're allowed one move. He makes his one move, but can't get back past.
Through Luffield they go and onto Woodcut and down what I believe is known as the National Pit Straight as we now fly towards Copse Corner. Rulder very, very close to the back of this, and I Have No Grip doing a very good job to keep involved in this battle. Rulder running a little bit wide here and through Maggots and Beckett's, and now into Chapel we go and towards the Hanger Straight. Is there a chance for the Mercedes to try and get past into Stowe? He is gaining on the Sauber. Mikey using his battery very efficiently though. And through Stowe we go towards Vale and Club. Nothing doing for the Mercedes driver. He will have to stick behind as they now come through Club and onto the newly crowned Hamilton Straight and towards Albion Farm. Nothing doing for the Mercedes. I Have No Grip, like I say, doing a very good job to stay on the back of this battle. The V-Carb working well so far. H-Town Realtor is just off the back of him. Finjo trying to gain on his teammate. Daryl very close to the back of him as we see Kevin Baker finally get the move done on Rendog and up into 10th. Dan Lovett is in 9th, 2 seconds off of the McLaren. But here comes Rulder then as we now go into Brooklands. He chooses the inside line. Mikey sweeps round the outside. He manages to keep the position into Luffield and towards Woodcut we go. Rulder looking round the outside. Not enough of an option, but he is now using a bit of the overtake. Doesn't look like there's going to be a move on into Copse Corner. But Mikey is being put under immense pressure now. Rulder again running wide through Copse for the second lap in a row. I Have No Grip still sticking to the back of this one. And Rulder giving it absolutely everything as we come through Chapel and onto the Hanger Straight. Is there going to be an opportunity for the Mercedes? He is draining the overtake button as towards Stowe we go now. He's going to look to the inside of Stowe. Mikey's going to hang it round the outside. Incredible battling between the top two here. Mikey manages to hold the position. Rulter very late on the brakes into Vale. It now turns to the inside of Club and Mikey, stark defence of his lead, manages to hold it as onto the Hamilton Straight we go. Mikey, take a bow. Incredible battling and incredible defence from the Sauber.
And this is not going to help either of those front two or I Have No Grip, because look now at what is going on. The top 8 all fairly close, and you get the feeling this could be a DRS train here, and you get even more of a feeling they're going to go for it again. Here comes Rulder. Can't make the move. Always a little bit of an awkward corner to make an overtake. Sticking to the back of him well. You've also got a H-Town looking to try and get past I Have No Grip as we head towards Copse. He's gaining. Can he look to the inside? He thinks better of it. Smarter thing to do. Again, yellow flag down the main straight. We have a virtual safety car, I believe.
We do indeed. Virtual safety car. That looks like, yeah, boy, a bit of a weird place to crash there. That's almost 3/4 of the way down the Hamilton Straight. So a very odd place to have a collision there. But the Sauber, as his teammate leads into the wall. And I do wonder if this virtual safety car stays out while Mikey comes towards the pits. Will he elect for a pit stop? Obviously, on those soft compound tyres, it would be good for him. And he is coming into the pits, as is Rulder. Very interesting there. Only 5 laps on the medium tyres for the Mercedes. But he obviously wants to stick. And there's a penalty there for Mikey for a severe collision with Rulder.
Very much looked like they were trying to cancel each other out there.
Well, no, Rulder got a penalty as well, sorry. So they both get a 10-second penalty. Very reminiscent of Dan Lovett and Harry in Sunday's race yesterday as they both come into the pits. Is there going to be a change of position in the pits? There isn't. Mikey manages to get through, still under the virtual safety car conditions here. I Have No Grip will lead us away. And surely he's got a great chance of winning this race now that Mikey and Rulder have penalties.
You would certainly expect so, but given the pace we've seen of those two. You can't rule them out just yet, but that very much to me seemed like they were trying to cancel each other out, or Ruler anyway sees Mikey go into the pits and then does the exact same thing.
That is really going to harm both of their races, though. 10 seconds. It was Rulder that went into the back of Mikey. Whether Mikey broke a bit too hard, Rulder going into the pits with a bit too much speed, we do not know. But contact between the two of them. No damage done to either car, but a 10-second time penalty. That will lose them a lot of time come their second pit stop. We know that this is a two-stop Grand Prix, and it will be very difficult to see them getting back towards the top. 12 seconds is the gap that Rendog has to Finjo. The two Aston Martins, our current Constructors' Championship leaders, battling away here, and I have no grip. I've said it before, doing an incredible job, now with a 1.2 second gap, and the Astons invert into turn 1. Finjo now leads H-Town.
Very interesting to see what goes by just out of range. Mikey and Rulder get back up into 4th and 5th. They are within the pit stop range of I have no grip. But of course, those penalties will play a crucial role towards the end. As obviously in the two-stop, you would expect that they would serve them at their next stop. So it will just be about trying to catch back up and gain that deficit back. But how much will they slow each other down with how close they are?
Exactly that, and quite importantly for the strategy, when will they box to serve these penalties? Will they come in at the same time again? If they do, will there be a chance of a collision as they now go towards Cop's corner? Nothing doing for Rulder, and he is really struggling in the dirty air. They've got Daryl right behind them, and Daryl's tyres only 1 lap old. He pitted with them, and he's on the mediums. So Daryl could throw another deck of cards into this hand here, because he is really starting to gain on Rulder. Mikey flying away a bit there from Rulder, but we've got Josh, Zazoom, and Daryl all right on the back of this fight. So any mistakes from Mikey or Rulder, and they are going to be immediately under pressure from the 3 behind them.
Absolutely. You have to be very, very careful. Mikey fastest lap. Josh takes that for himself. Very much looks like a little bit of a 4-way train being formed here between Mikey, Rulder, Daryl, and Josh. Daryl having a quiet race, but just gaining what he needs. A very, very solid start for him. Runs a little bit wide, so the old commentator's curse there. Looks like he's about to lose position to Josh here. Josh goes to the outside. Can he get the move done? No. Stays fairly close. Takes a little bit of a wider line. Can he keep with the top 3 in front of him? It doesn't seem like it.
I do believe Finn's tyres are starting to come back into play. He's on the hard compound. I have no grip on the mediums, and the gap was about 2.5 seconds, now 1.5 seconds between the two leaders, and they are starting to work those hard tyres on the Aston Martin. He's pulled away from his teammate. His next target is the V car, but I have no grip. Doing a great job leading this one. He just needs to make sure he boxes at the right time to try and get away from Mikey and Rulder. He knows that they will have 10-second penalties. He knows he will have the advantage. The current championship leader, he's not adverse to winning races, and he's not adverse to taking his opportunities when he can. As we now are on lap 10 of 26 of this Grand Prix. And the real interesting thing now is Mikey and Rulder. How will they fare as we come towards the second stops?
Absolutely. You've got to be very, as we say, very, very careful. DRS again for Rulder. And you would expect that if you're Rulder behind, you're probably waiting for Mikey to pit. And then you're probably going to pit on the same lap. That's what I'd expect anyway. Try and limit the damage. You don't really want to take another risk here when you already know there's a penalty coming. But just nothing seemingly working for Rulder to get back through at the minute. And this must be incredibly frustrating as we know his true speed. But it's going to be limited being stuck behind another incredibly quick driver in Mikey.
Exactly that. Josh picks up a 3-second penalty in his pursuit of Daryl. Daryl will not have the DRS. Josh will. Daryl also really struggling for battery here, and the Alpine is going to come at him. And he is going down the inside is the Alpine. Swooping around the outside is the Haas. Manages to defend that position as Josh runs very wide there. And into club corner we go now then. Nothing doing for the Alpine. He will just have to stick behind for the time being. But very, very close between nearly the entire pack here. Everyone fighting away. And Finn is only 1.2 seconds off of the leader here. But I have no grip. 10 lap old mediums doing a great job out in front. Rulder is still trying to gain on Mikey, but is struggling in that dirty air. And if I am correct, he will only be one warning off of a penalty because I've seen him go wide at cops at least twice.
Very, very difficult to keep it on the track. Randog retires. Now, you would expect it to be a two-stop race, but I'm going to guess here that I Have No Grip is trying for the one. Very much looks like it, as is Finn Joe. Are they trying to extend life?
It would definitely seem like it because, I mean, I Have No Grip. 10 laps on the mediums. He is under pressure, though, from the Aston Martin, who is gaining a lot. And I think the strategy here for I Have No Grip may be stay out until he overtakes, or no. He's going to prove me wrong and dive into the pit lane now then. So I Have No Grip comes in for his first pit stop. But 10 laps, or nearly 11 laps, sorry, on the medium tyres. Surely you'll be able to take a set of hards to the end. So the one stop for I Have No Grip, when we know that Mikey and Rulder surely will pit again, even if they don't, they'll have the 10-second penalties to take. Hard tyres on to the V-carb. I Have No Grip's going to have a brilliant chance to win this race.
Absolutely, and I think that you would have to expect that anything but the win in that position is not good enough for him. Hasn't had a taste of victory as far as I'm aware so far, but very much looks like he is on course at this current point to be in with more of a shot than he has ever had. He's been driving faultlessly, very calm, just controlling the race. No mistakes from him yet, but he's got to be very careful here whilst you are behind some of the drivers who are further down, not to get tangled up in an incident, but also not to cost yourself too much time.
I must say, that's quite interesting. I Have No Grip, our current championship leader, hasn't won a Grand Prix. He was second in Australia. Josh and Mikey have both won. It was Mikey that took the Qatar Grand Prix. It was Josh that took the Canadian Grand Prix. But very interestingly, I Have No Grip, never having won a race, is really on course to do that today as Finjo now comes into the pits, and that'll be interesting to see how I Have No Grip fares about that. H-Town also pits, so it's an Aston Martin double stack here. And H-Town, not only with the 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, is going to be held up by his teammate coming into the pits. It's not too much of a hold up for him as Rulder and Mikey now do retake the lead of the Grand Prix. Daryl in third place, Josh in fourth, Zazoom fifth. But I Have No Grip does get out ahead of both Aston Martins, and he is quite a way ahead here. The undercut working absolutely brilliantly. The gap over 3 seconds. So I Have No Grip. We'll look at the gap to leader now for him. 16 seconds here. If he can pull that gap down, which surely he will, having 5 lap better tyres through the tyre delta, staying out, pitting later, I Have No Grip in a great opportunity to lead this race. His next plan of attack is on Dan Lovett, and he is really starting to gain on the Haas driver. Rulder and Mikey very, very close to each other in the battle for the lead here, and Rulder does look like he is going for it. As we head now down this hangar straight, nothing doing for the Mercedes driver. Daryl has really fallen off the back of this one. He's under a lot of pressure from Josh, but I Have No Grip is right on the back of Dan Lovett here and really coming at the Haas. He's going to elect to choose the inside. Dan Lovett chooses the outside, and the V-Carb sweeps through and up into 6th. And while they're battling, the gap is coming down by about a second a lap between I Have No Grip and the leaders.
This is exactly what he will have wanted. These two, as quick as they are, will only be slowing each other down, as they can't really get into a groove of things, as there is always just a looming threat. Whereas I Have No Grip, all he needs to do is just focus, not really anyone putting him under any sort of pressure. Dan does have DRS, but I would say probably a little bit too far back to make a move. And this is exactly the game he'll want. He can just sit back, focus, let the gap come down, because he's under no pressure whatsoever to actually catch up and overtake. All he needs to do is get those 6 seconds. And as you say, already come down. And I get the feeling, let me just look here on the leader chart, that it is coming down again.
That gap is coming down very quickly between the V-Carb and the leaders. 4/10 gap between Mikey and Rulder getting ever more frustrated as he comes towards the back of the Sauber. He has been behind him since lap 1, and a move has not been on for him, as we are now going to move on to lap 15 of 26 of this British Grand Prix. Mikey and Rulder lead, but the man best placed currently in 6th position. But quite interestingly, Daryl, 5.6 seconds off the lead, is currently the net race leader. So I Have No Grip will have to gain and pass the Haas driver if he wants to win this British Grand Prix. Such an iconic circuit is this Silverstone circuit. Everyone knows, built on an old airfield that the British used in World War I and World War II. They converted it into a racetrack in the 1950s, and it has been a permanent staple of the Formula One calendar. What a circuit it is, and what a race it is providing us tonight.
Absolutely. And I don't believe, will Daryl, I would expect he would have to pit again, surely.
You would imagine Daryl will have to pit, obviously on the medium tyres. Gap to leaders now 14.2, so my estimation of about a second a lap is coming true. But that gap to Daryl will be falling even more because he's on the mediums, been on them for 8 laps, and you can see Josh is still frustrated behind him. But while they are battling, that gap will continue to tumble as I Have No Grip is in clean air. He will rock up to the back of the McLaren of Zazoom very, very soon, and surely will be a relatively easy pass as Mikey comes into the pits and Rulder stays out. So the two leaders going on opposite strategies here. Rulder may be electing to stay out. Mikey into the pit lane will serve this 10-second penalty and will no doubt fall well down the pack. It's another set of hard tyres that will go onto that Sauber instead of the mediums that personally I would have elected to choose. But I Have No Grip is going to be well up the road.
You would very much expect so. And I think this is interesting for both Rulder and I Have No Grip, because what is Rulder's true pace now that he is alone for the first time in this race? Can he get that gap back up? It is slowly starting to go up already. 13.6 now. So that, even though he's gained a position, might not be the news that I Have No Grip wanted to hear.
Look how far behind Mikey is, though. Even just off I Have No Grip, he is very, very far behind. I think the gap about 15 seconds. So the V-Carb, with 10 laps to go in this race, is very well placed and is pulling that gap down to Zazoom. The gap to leader is 13.7 seconds. As Josh finally manages to get past Daryl, there will be screams of ecstasy underneath that helmet in the cockpit there, as Josh been battling away from the Haas for so long, and they both now come into the pit lane. So I Have No Grip will now gain more positions as Rulder also comes into the pits. So this will be interesting as Rulder is going on to the medium tyres. Will Mikey be able to come out ahead? I have no grip. Will most certainly come out quite a way ahead here as Zazum now takes the lead of this Grand Prix. I have no grip, very close, but interestingly, Finjo, 4-lap old mediums, very close to the back of the V-carb. So this is not one yet for I have no grip, as he is under pressure from the Aston Martin DRS as we go down the Wellington Straight and towards Brooklands Corner. He is really under pressure, is the V-carb. Mikey out well ahead of Rulder, who I believe has had a trip into the grass on his way out of the pits. Darrell is in the middle of those two. There isn't a really big gap between Mikey and Rulder. Mikey currently chasing down the battle of Kevin Baker and Josh. Josh wins out that fight, and Mikey is beginning to gain as well and will want to clear these cars as quick as possible to put as much gap as he can between himself and his rival Rulder. I have no grip, bringing that gap down ever more to Zazum, but Finjo is really beginning to gain on the V-carb.
Absolutely. Very, very tense final 9 laps we are in for here. You just can't call it. You would say at the minute, this looks like it could be I have no grips day, but given how things get thrown up in this league, in 5 laps time, we could be saying a completely different story.
As they're now wheel to wheel as we go down the Hamilton Straight and towards turn 1, very, very close between the V-carb and the Aston Martin. I have no grip. Manages to defend that threat. Next threat, the DRS Straight down the Wellington Straight and towards Brooklands they will go. Very different lines for the two of them, and the Aston has more traction and won't even need the DRS, or will he? Because I have no grip, gets a better second phase, but Finjo on lap 18 of 26 here takes the lead of the British Grand Prix, and the Aston Martin driver with a British team, the fans will be roaring him on. Aston Martin based just mere miles away from this very circuit, and they will be in delight as they see their driver lead the British Grand Prix. A lot of drivers, you ask them, what races do you want to win? They'll tell you Monaco. They'll tell you Spa. They will always tell you the British Grand Prix is a special one, especially if you are a British driver for a British team. And Aston Martin absolutely flying here today. The British flags will be flying.
But you've got to have a look at those tyres. 1 lap younger for Finjo, 1 softer compound. So a track like this is very punishing on the tyres. He should be able to make it to the end, but will they be in good enough condition to keep him behind?
If I have no grip is able to stick with him, it's going to be very hard for Finjo to try and win this one, as those tyres will die out quite quickly. We see Dan Lovett coming into the pits now. Josh on the soft compound tyres. He is absolutely flying and actually pulling away from Mikey here. So those 10-second penalties for Rulder and Mikey really making them struggle as Rulder sets the fastest lap of the race, and I have no grip really has a hell of a lot of battery behind Finjo and is very well placed to try and take this win. H-Town is right behind them, but 8 seconds is the gap. It's then another 8 seconds back to Josh, but that gap will tumble with the Alpine driver being on the soft compound tyres. I have no grip's going to have to use a little bit of his battery here on the exit of Copse and through Maggots and Beckett's if he wants to try and stay in the DRS. It is oh so close between Finjo and I have no grip, and Finn has actually managed to pull out of the DRS, although I have no grip just about was within it as we got to the detection point. But Finn, those tyres working well, and I have no grip will have to pray that they start to degrade as quickly as possible, because as we're about to move on to lap 20, Finn actually comes into the pits. Very interesting there.
A point of could they end the race. I didn't think they'd be in good condition, but I didn't think he needed to pit. That seems like a very odd decision.
completely agreed, Lewis. And going on to the mediums instead of the softs is the Aston Martin. So the Aston Martin team, I think they may have had a bit of a blunder on the pit wall here, as the Aston Martin's going to fall well behind, already down into 8th, and Dan Lovett may even have a chance to overtake. Actually, no, he's a bit too far behind as the Haas driver, but 8th position now for Finn. Only 6 laps to go of this British Grand Prix. Mikey still stuck behind Josh on the softs. Then they've got Darrell in between them, and then it is Rulder, currently 4th, 5th and 6th here. Mikey is beginning to gain on Josh, but it isn't enough. And I have no grip, leading this race by 8 seconds to H-Town, who also has a penalty. The V-Carb driver looking to break British hearts today as he tries to take his first Grand Prix win.
And I think, I mean, any driver who wins a race deserves it, but there is, to me, one deserving winner here. And yes, you can say Mikey and Rulder have gotten unlucky with that penalty in the pit lane, but in terms of sticking with them, he did a phenomenal job. Did I have no grip to stick with them? And he has been calm under pressure, where so many others would have made a slight mistake. I don't think I've seen even the slightest mild mistake, let alone full-on mistake. He has just been faultless.
Interestingly, Mikey has now managed to clear Josh and has clean air. 6 seconds is the gap to H-Town. 5 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Will Mikey have enough of an opportunity to try and gain back on the leader? But like you mentioned, Lewis, I have no grip. Running a completely faultless race. I've not seen even the slightest snap of oversteer or understeer in that V-Carb. 9 lap old hards compared to Mikey's 5 though. Mikey will gain, but will it be enough?
I don't think so. He'll manage to get into second due to the penalty, but 14 seconds in 5 laps and then pass, no chance.
It is going to be an interesting climax to the end of this race. Rulder still stuck behind Darrell. Then he's got Josh. Mikey is pulling away from Josh. Soft compound tyres for Josh. Hard compound tyres for Mikey. And the softs beginning to die out a little as we enter the latter stages of this race. And I have no grip. Comfortably leading. 9 seconds now the gap to the Aston Martin. The gap between the Aston and the Sauber is tumbling ever more. It just depends whether Mikey has enough pace to get up to the back of the Aston, pass him, and then has to do the exact same thing to the V-Carb. It is going to be a very tall feat. But for Rulder, he is really beginning to struggle and get frustrated behind the rear wing of the Haas, who is just not able to get past the Alpine of Josh on the soft compound tyres. Josh now falling out of the DRS of Mikey, though. He will begin to struggle on those soft compound tyres. And this is a 4-car battle as Zazoom in the McLaren is also in this fight. Very difficult for all of these drivers to stay focused and stay composed in these conditions, especially if you're someone like Rulder, who in the sprint was nearly a second over Mikey's time for the qualifying. The biggest gap we have ever seen in NRRL qualifying, now currently down in a lowly 6th position. He will not be happy in that position today. It is his debut race in the Monday division, and this is not the start he will have dreamed of, especially starting from pole position.
Absolutely not. He came here with one objective, and after those first 3 sessions, he thought that he would have had this in the bag, but it's just unraveled for him like crazy. And he picks up another penalty. And this is the interesting thing now. This penalty for H-Town, I've been trying to figure out exactly where he would fall down. Right now, it looks like he would be falling down to 7th on the track. But with penalties, he might just creep up another position or 2.
Big battle going on between Darrell and Josh. Darrell finally manages to make his way past the Alpine, and now Rulder right on the back of him, but there's contact between Rulder and Zazoom, and Rulder goes round. So a torrid day going worse for the Works Mercedes driver, and he is going to lose out to Finjo as well, who is on the better tyres, and Rulder's race has gone from bad to more than worse in the space of a single corner, he picked up a penalty. He's been spun round by the McLaren, and the man that started on pole position now running in 8th. Horrible day for Mercedes today, as one of them DNFs, the other one struggling massively.
I think you just got to take it on the chin. What's happened has happened. You're still going to score some World Championship points here. So towards the end of the season, it will be important, as he's nearly just done his best Sebastian Vettel impression there and spun it round towards Copse. He manages to keep it on the track. And I don't think that's the the best way to warm up your tyres, but anything that works for you at this point. It doesn't seem to be going well, but I think at this point, like I say, you just have to accept it. It wasn't your day, and you just have to take the points you can, get out of here with a few points on your debut, and move on to next week.
Exactly that. Interestingly enough, Mikey isn't really gaining much on H-Town. He will gain that position due to H-Town's penalty, but Rulder currently placed to finish, I believe it is 8th position here, with Mikey, he's very close to the back of H-Town. H-Town will lose a lot of positions. He will most certainly fall off of the podium. Great little battle here going on between Zazoom and Josh, as Zazoom now looks to the outside of Brooklands. That will now turn to the inside for Luffield. Great move from the McLaren driver, and the British fans will be enjoying that one as the McLaren moves up into 5th.
Having done a little bit of mental arithmetic here, I believe right now, if you include Zazoom and Josh's penalties, he's on course for 6th place, as 10 seconds would drop him down to 7th, but then Zazoom and Josh add their penalties. I think Zazoom might just stay in front of him currently, but as Josh has 6, I believe he would drop down behind him. It's very, very close though.
I think what would be good for H-Town is if Mikey manages to pass him and he can just take that DRS and drag him along, as we're now on to the penultimate lap of this Grand Prix, and I have no grip with a completely faultless drive here tonight, driving absolutely brilliantly. He's got about a lap and a half to negotiate, and he will finally be able to call himself a Formula 1 Grand Prix winner.
Yeah, just fantastic from start to finish. He's kept himself at the top of the pile for most of the sessions, or around that kind of top 3, top 4. And, you know, you could say he did get lucky with the penalties for Mikey and Rulder, but you have to be in that position to capitalise on luck when it falls your way. He got himself in that position, so you can't really fault him for it. He did what he had to do, and he has thoroughly earned what will be a great way to win his first race, and give him a lot of confidence for the rest of the season that he could very much be up there at the top towards the title fight.
Exactly that, Lewis. Mikey boy is now very, very close to H-Town as we go down the Hanger Straight towards Stowe Corner. He isn't gaining enough though. H-Town using his ERS effectively and does manage to hold the position, as I have no grip. Comes around the final couple of corners now to begin his final lap of the Grand Prix, and for his first win of his career. He comes through Abbey, nice and neat through there. The V-carb working well all weekend, and he is just mere kilometres away from his first Formula 1 victory.
You've just got to keep it calm and composed. The most nervy lap of them all. But he has done everything he's needed to do. He has very much looked in control from start to finish when he took the lead, when he was in the net lead. And this is the sign of a truly fantastic drive. I would say one of the better ones I have seen in our short history. And this will do him a lot of confidence, not only for this division, but the other divisions he takes part in, knowing that he has won a race against one of the best that we have.
Exactly that. We constantly talk about how quick Mikey is and how he has improved so much in qualifying, in Grand Prix pace. He has been absolutely flying, but I have no grip. He has done one better. 8.6 seconds the gap to him, and I have no grip. Just has a couple of corners to go before he can call himself a winner. He has driven absolutely beautifully today, and VCarb will call themselves Formula 1 winners once again. As he comes round the final corner now, I have no grip. Wins the British Grand Prix with an absolutely faultless drive to the win. Mikey boy, after a bit of a tough day for him, getting that penalty in the pit lane, he will see himself come home in second. Darrell, on debut, picks up a podium, reminiscent of people like Lewis Hamilton taking a debut podium. Brilliant stuff from the Haas driver. Finjo will finish in 4th place after that late pit stop. Good recovery drive from the Aston Martin driver. Zazoom in 5th place for McLaren. H-Town drops to 6th after his 10-second penalty. Rulder, with a torrid day, falls down to 7th place. Josh finishes in 8th. Dan Lovett in 9th, with Kevin Baker taking the flag in 10th. And Meldrum is the last of our finishing runners in 11th place. But what a day for VCarb. What a day for our winner. I have no grip. You are a Formula 1 race winner.
Absolutely incredible stuff. As we've said time and time again, thoroughly deserved. He had to earn that one, and he did. And he didn't at all at any point look like he was under any real threat of losing it once he got out front. But what a fantastic performance, and what a race from top to bottom.
He extends his championship lead by 3 points. And there are your classification order for the race. It is I Have No Grip with his maiden Grand Prix win from Mikey Boy and Darrell. Finjo, Zazoom, H-Town, Rulder, Josh and Dan Lovett. Kevin Baker rounds off the top 10 and the World Championship points. Meldrum finishes a lap down. And then Rendog, Alfie, Yeah Boy, Big Bruiser and Astro all failing to reach the flag. Well, what an incredible race it was. We know Silverstone is one of the best tracks on the calendar, and once again it has provided us with great racing action up and down the field. We will be back tomorrow for the inaugural round of the Tuesday division. If you are new here, drop a follow down below. Remember, Twitch is running a little bit of a discount for subscriptions. September, they're calling it up to 30% off of subscriptions. So if you are interested, do drop a subscription down below. All support is incredibly valued and appreciated. Thank you very much to everyone for watching. My name has been JP. It has been a pleasure to be here. As always, alongside me has been Lewis. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you tomorrow for the Tuesday division. Take care.